as we get into the ancient Near East, and especially the culture and the time, God works in the time and the context that he intercedes in this world. He didn't just pick a time and do things willy-nilly. It's kind of like the old practice of covenant in the Old Testament. That was a custom that God didn't invent that, to our knowledge. That was a custom that was already prevalent among the people. And the custom is really cool. I wish we had time to talk about that. Maybe we'll make that a study sometime, the custom and the study of covenant. But he instead took the customs of the people and he worked with them. The whole idea of Genesis 15 of cutting the animals in half and walking through them and all of that comes from the nine steps of covenant making from ancient Near Eastern times. So the same thing's happening here. He's sending his son into the world. Now, in those days, does the son have the authority of the father in business and things like that? The heir to the estate, the heir to the business. And if you don't know the answer is yes. Okay? There is a parable. We're going to jump over to Mark. Mark this page so I don't lose it. All right. How many of you are familiar with the parable of the vine grower in chapter 12 of Mark? Right? Man buys a vineyard. He planted a vineyard. He put a wall around it, dug a vat under the winepress, and built a tower. And he rented it out to vine growers. And he went on a journey. This sound familiar? At the harvest time, he sent a slave to the vine grower in order to receive some of the produce of the vineyard from the vine growers. They took him and beat him and sent him away empty-handed. Again, he sent them another slave, and they wounded him in the head and treated him shamefully. And he sent another, and that one they killed. And so with many others, beating some and killing others. He had one more to send, a beloved son. He sent him last of all to them, saying, "They will respect my son." And then you know how the story goes. They kill the son as well. The idea, though, is in the time Jesus understood, and just as his father, God, did, that the son, as he came into that situation, he bore the authority of the Father, the one who sent him. And this is just part of who Jesus is, right? He proclaims this in much of his teachings to the disciples and to the others. He proclaims the fact that he doesn't do anything apart from God the Father, that he's been given authority, but at the same time he's been given authority. So he's not a robot. He's not just on a mission to do things. He has his own authority, right? There's a time where he talks about he could lay down his life or he could raise up and fight. I mean, he has authority over his life, but he's following the will of the Father. And that's something that exists at the same time in his life. And so when we talk about the incarnation, what's beautiful and significant about this is that Jesus, he's come and he has his own will because he is an authority. He is God, but he's also following the will of the Father. And so he's not just someone that was sent. He's not just a lamb in the sense of an animal that's led by a rope to a time of slaughter or carried. He is sent on this mission. And you and I are called and we're sent into the world around us. So I want to go into chapter 5 a little bit of John because there's some nice things about his authority. And the Gospel of John's got wonderful just throughout places of authority where we could look at this. But here he does a healing, and there's a lot of verse 3 says, in all these porticos at Bethesda, there were sick, blind, lame, and withered, and they're waiting for the moving of the water. For it was believed that an angel of the Lord went down at certain seasons into the pool and stirred up the water. And whoever then was first after the stirring up of the water stepped in was made well from whatever disease with which he was afflicted. And a man was there who had been ill for 38 years. When Jesus saw him lying there and knew that he had already been a long time in that condition, he said to him, "Do you wish to get well?" Now, what's great about this is, and I'm going to skip some of the middle part here, and remember what day this happens on? This is on the Sabbath. Yeah, this is a Sabbath day healing, right? Jesus tells him in verse 8, "Get up, pick up your pallet, and walk." Immediately he did so. He tells him, and then he responds to the Jews who are around him, right? Because they're like, "Hey, it's the Sabbath, and it's not permissible for you to carry your pallet." And the man says, "Well, he who made me well was the one who said to me, 'Pick up your pallet and walk.'" And they said, "Who is that man that told you that?" And they go on and they say, "Behold," and they found him in the temple, verse 14. It says, "Behold, you have become well. Do not sin anymore, so that nothing worse happens to you." Jesus found him. I'm sorry, I'm getting ahead of myself. It's in verse 16 I want to pick up for this section on Jesus' authority, okay? Again, this is a reflection of who he is as the Son. And this is why it's significant for us, because we're not just following someone who came and was just like an empty vessel. We're following the will and the authority of God incarnate in Jesus Christ. For this reason, the Jews were persecuting Jesus. They didn't like him doing all this stuff, right? Because he was doing these things on the Sabbath. He answered them, "My Father is working until now, and I myself am working." So here's his first big, really big. It was bad enough that he healed, and he told that guy to get up and take his pallet on the Sabbath. But now he's claiming what in this statement? What? Yeah, he's claiming his relationship to God the Father. This is a big no-no. This is huge, and the Jews are irate about this. So much so that verse 18 says, "For this reason, therefore, the Jews were seeking all the more to kill him, because he not only was breaking the Sabbath, but also was calling God his own Father, making himself equal with God." And this bothered them tremendously, right? To the point that they were willing to spill blood over it. So Jesus says, "Hey, truly, truly, I say to you, the Son can do nothing of himself unless it is something he sees the Father doing. For whatever the Father does, these things the Son also does in like manner. For the Father loves the Son and shows him all things that he himself is doing. And the Father will show him greater works than these, so that you will marvel. For just as the Father raises the dead and gives them life, so the Son also gives life to whom he wishes." Interesting part of that is if you go back to like Deuteronomy 29, there's a place in there where it talks about God is just, kind of letting the people know who he is. He's in charge. And he says, "I'll give life to who I want to, and I'll take life from who I want to. And if I want to raise armies or whatever," he's just letting them know, "I am the God that you need to follow." And it's a warning to all their enemies and to anybody who would rebel against him. And so for Jesus to reiterate that in some way, for just as the Father raises the dead and gives them life, even so the Son also gives life to whom he wishes. Did that man receive life after 38 years of laying there on that pallet? You bet he did. This was a new life that he received. He wasn't dead, not in the sense that they were going to roll him up and put him in a tomb, but he was certainly withering, quite literally withering away, laying there waiting for that freedom, and Jesus comes and gives that to him. Only as the Father could do, he does as the Son. That's, again, why we have this beautiful, unique, and significant aspect of a God who becomes incarnate and moves around us. And so when we hear people saying, "Well, what's so special about what it means to be a Christian? Why is this season of Christmas so special? Why is it so important to you Christians?" We can say, because our God became one of us. And not just for a little while in the sense of like a day or two or a week or a holiday. No, our God became one of us and experienced the same journey that we did. As one writer was in there, from womb to tomb, okay? The same journey that we did. Let's read on a little bit further, because chapter 5 just got a lot of this. "For not even the Father judges anyone, but he has given all judgment to the Son." So Jesus is just kind of standing on this idea that I'm the Son, And as such, I get to do these things, and it's fine because that's who my Father has made me to be and wants me to be. So that all will honor the Son, even as they honor the Father. He who does not honor the Son does not honor the Father who sent him. Truly, truly, I say to you, he who hears my word and believes him who sent me has eternal life and does not come into judgment, but is passed out of death into life. So the Son has the power over life and death. The Son has the power over resurrection. The Son has the authority of the Father. What's great about this sonship that we see in John, it's a reminder that as Jesus has come, the cross, right, this act of atonement is significant. It's powerful. And it's the ultimate fulfillment of what God came to do in that it had to happen. It was the transaction that needed to take place. But all of his life leading up to that is not, we don't just fast forward through that. We don't just ignore that. We recognize that as Jesus was born, as he lived, as he healed, as he taught, as he shared good news, as he did all of those things, that was the fulfillment of God's will because he freed people, right? Not only from physical afflictions, but what did he tell the man when he found him again later? Go and sin no more. Sin no more. This is the God we serve, right? This is the God who has come into our life. And this Christmas season that we're heading towards through Advent, and we prepare ourselves, we get to experience this beautiful thing year after year where we remember and celebrate incarnation. And it's not only unique, but it's incredibly significant because it is the embodiment, quite literally, the embodiment of God's authority and his power, and it walked among us. Now, we didn't get to touch it. We didn't get to see it. How cool would it have been to be in that crowd, right? When that woman reached out and touched the hem of his garment, and then all of a sudden she's healed. How cool would it have been to watch him take a little bit of mud or dirt and spit in it and heal a blind man? That would have been so awesome. I love the story of the friends who open up the roof and they lower their other friend down in there. I don't know who the better friends are. I don't know if the guy getting lowered is such an awesome guy that these guys would do anything for him, or if those two guys are just so good that they'd do anything for their buddy. I don't know who, or maybe it's a combination thereof. But you know, what a great story. Jesus recognizes that. I love the expression of authority that the centurion recognizes when he says, you don't have to come to my house. You just say the words, because I'm a man under authority, and I know that if I say to my soldiers, go and do something, I don't have to go and make sure that it gets done. It gets done. And so he says, all right, be healed. Was it his servant, wasn't it? Was that a daughter? His daughter, thank you. There's a couple of healings in there. There's the ones in Luke that I get mixed up with that one. But yeah, there's a healing that takes place, and Jesus just said the words. No touching. He didn't even lay eyes on them. But this is because he is the Son of God, the full expression of God's power and authority walking among us. And that's a part of our faith that we probably don't articulate well enough to say that God walked among us as a human being. Are there any questions so far? Any thoughts? Any stories this kind of drudges up where you think, man, yeah, okay, this is a great expression of incarnation that I love from the Bible? Nothing? Y'all are so easy. Come on now. Well, there's plenty of stories in the Gospels. And I would just ask you that as you read in your own Bible study, in your own time, that you'd read with a critical eye and just say, you know what? There's an expression of the sonship of Jesus Christ. There's an expression of God's authority in a moment. And they're everywhere, aren't they? John just gives us a beautiful example of where he talks about as the Father instructs, the Son does. I as the Son don't do anything that I haven't seen the Father do. We just get a very clear example of that, but there's plenty of others. I don't really have anything else if you don't have any questions. No questions at all? No thoughts about incarnation? Okay.